How's it going, friends? Greece just held back-to-back national elections, one last week, one last month. They're trying to outdo the Bulgarians. The reason for holding back-to-back national elections is basically because of corruption. It's the elites rigging the game to keep the smaller parties from gaining any power. So I'm going to quickly go over the last three elections to explain the situation. I didn't write down all the parties here. I only wrote down the parties on the right. For years and years in the Greek system, there's a 50-seat jackpot for the first place party. Now there's only 300 seats total. What this means is if you can get 37% or more, you will win an outright majority in parliament, and your party will be able to exclusively form the executive branch of the government. You won't have to form a coalition with any other parties. And this whole system was created by the establishment center-right and the establishment center-left working together to keep people from voting for smaller opposition parties. Because why vote for some little guy when you might cause the establishment center-right to slightly lose to the establishment center-left, which would then give all power to the other side? Well, along the way, there was a party called Syriza. It stands for Coalition of the Radical Left Progressive Alliance. But they're actually somewhat of an anti-establishment left-wing party. And so they opposed the 50-seat jackpot. And after winning the 50-seat jackpot themselves, they worked to reform the system, and they wanted to do away with the jackpot in the 2019 election. But the best they could do was to do away with it after this election took place. Well, New Democracy, which is the establishment center-right party, got 40%, and they won 158 seats, an outright majority. Now, they are like American neoconservatives in the Republican Party. They're nothing really to get excited about, but I guess compared to some of the left-wing parties in Greece, they'd be preferable. Now, during the election seasons, they certainly campaign on the right issues. Now, for years, there was a hardline party called Golden Dawn. That's XE. And they were getting around 7% of the vote in all the elections for years. They got 9% in an EU election. Well, before this election, the government had mass arrested dozens of their MPs and leaders, and they were charged with all kinds of politically motivated crimes. They were trying to shut the party down. And if I remember correctly, a few months before this election, they were polling like 9-10%. But then when it looked like New Democracy was poised to win an outright majority, well, their support kind of collapsed, and people saw the writing on the wall anyway. The whole party was banned shortly after this election. And another right-wing party, basically hardline conservative, called Greek Solutions, they got 3.7% and 1 seats. So, at any rate, New Democracy, they ran the Greek government outright with 158 seats. Now, fast forward to 2023, the 50-seat jackpot is supposed to be gone, right? Wrong. After the 2019 election, one of the first things New Democracy did was they went to work to get that jackpot right back in place. And so the legislation they got passed, what it did was it said in the next election, there will be a jackpot on a sliding scale of up to 50 seats, but not necessarily 50. But then after that, it would go back to the 50 again. Then, to make matters worse, New Democracy actually banned a party right before this election. So a former MP for Golden Dawn had started a new party called the Nationalist Party. Well, New Democracy proposed legislation and said no party run by a guy with a criminal conviction can be in the election. And they got the establishment center-left party to vote with them to get the two-thirds majority they needed, and they banned the party from running. Syriza, the Communist Party, and Greek Solutions, and whoever else there was, they all voted against it. But it was the New Democracy and the traditional center-left that voted together on this. So a party was banned. They got almost 41%, but without the full 50-seat bonus, they got 146 seats, not the 151 that they needed to rule outright. So all they had to do was say, redo, and in the next election, they got the 50 bonus, and so they got 158 seats again. Now, here's where it starts to get interesting. So in the May election, there was another new party called the Victory Party, which is basically, it sounds like a hardline, conservative, Orthodox Christian party. They got 2.9%, which was right below the 3% threshold, so they didn't actually win seats in that election. But they got more in June with 3.7. Well, the people from the National Party organized a brand new party with a different leader who didn't have a criminal conviction and called themselves the Spartans and got 4.6%. And so even though New Democracy didn't really go down, and Greek Solutions, which is a strong conservative party, they stayed the same, but the Victory Party went up, and the Spartans got 4.6%. And I can only assume that a lot of these people just didn't even vote in this election at all. Some of them may have voted for some really tiny parties that didn't win any seats, because there's a bunch of parties that got like 0.1% each. But at any rate, there's 3 different hardline conservative parties that all won seats, on top of New Democracy once again having an outright majority. If it wasn't for this 50-seat jackpot, New Democracy would undoubtedly be getting a smaller percentage of the vote, and the more hardline conservative parties would be getting larger percentages. And if New Democracy wanted to be in power, they would have to form coalitions with other parties. But once again, that's the point of the 50-seat jackpot, is to keep the establishment in power. All right, thanks for watching this video. Click the like button, post a comment below, tell me what you think about all this, and please subscribe to my backup channels on BitChute, Odysee, and Twitter. And you can support me on Subscribestar and Patreon. And click the subscribe button. New video every few days.